Have you ever been fired from a job that you didn't even want in the first place? That's what happened to me, thanks to a temp agency, a weed smoking office, and a whole lot of nerve. Welcome to Fired But Still Lit, the faceless podcast where we talk about workplace drama, chaos, and workplace commentary. No fluff, no HR filter, just the kind of stories you usually only whisper about during your lunch break. Today's episode is entitled Temp Days, Temp Haze, a temp assignment that lit the match. Today's episode, let's talk about the time I got fired from a temp agency in a place that felt more like a house party than a workplace. Yeah, I'm talking about profanity, weed smoke, and loud rap music coming from the director's office. Buckle up, folks. So let's start from the top. See, I got this temp assignment through a staffing agency. Nothing wild, administrative support work, basic office work. Totally doable for me, Miss Fireball. I showed up early, dressed professionally, ready to work. Some dude found my profile on LinkedIn and he messaged me. I said from the beginning, the pay was too low, but y'all, I was unemployed and desperate to catch up on my bills and get back to work. But I already knew in my mind, I wasn't staying there long. So I went in for the interview, got interviewed by two people. 20 minutes later, I'm going home on the bus. I get the ride from the temp agency. They want you. Okay, great. I'll take it. So I was replacing this woman who had been at the job for 7 years. She had been working there for 7 years, y'all. Let's call her Amy. Amy said she had had enough. A long commute of almost an hour and 45 minutes each way. Low pay. And she said she was out. After making only $50,000 range after 7 years, she said she had enough. See, she was a rent administrator. She was handling, collecting, and processing the rent payments for over 200 tenants and a nonprofit organization. And she was doing light, tenant relations. Little did I know what was coming. See, Amy did a job of at least 5 people. She worked late. She came in on the weekends with no extra pay in her paycheck. And I came along to replace her. I was not replacing her. I was a temp in my mind. Meanwhile, this 1-star rated dusty nonprofit was treating me like I was a permanent employee. See, their clientele consisted of people to be considered to be vulnerable. They were dealing with some stuff. They had been homeless, or they had been recently, well, I should say formally incarcerated. They had substance abuse issues, and some had mental health trauma they were dealing with. So, they had a great mission behind the nonprofit, but the way they ran this organization was a shit show. So, picture it. Day one, you know, I walk in ready to get to work, and some woman, so I walk in, like, I'm overwhelmed. There's like a lot of people there. So let's just set the scene. There's a program director who oversaw the whole entire office, the organization's office there. And then you have the clinical director who oversaw 20 caseworkers who dealt directly with the clientele, helped them with their everyday needs, finding resources, making sure they, went to their appointments, they stayed on track with certain services and things they needed to do, to be self-sufficient in society. They would check in, they would do home visits, things of that nature. So it was an office full of people. Amy trained me for about 4 days crash training. Crash training. She showed me everything she could show me in the 4 days that she did in 7 years. So my mind was spinning. So, as a going away, they really liked Amy. She was very loved by all of the staff. So on like her next to last day there, they had a big luncheon for her. Right. So we're all gathered in the cafeteria to, eat this food that they bought. I think it was like a pasta meal or something. And some woman named Pat like strolls over to me and says to me, "Whoa, you got some big shoes to fill." And I looked at her and I'm like, "Excuse me?" Um, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm a temp replacement. And while everybody's taking pictures here, trying to rope me in my mind, I'm like, I'm a temp. I'm not trying to fill anybody's shoes. And then at one point, they were taking photos and they wanted to have me in the photos. And I said, no, no, thank you. I don't take photos. And they kind of like seemed like they were offended by it. Why would you want some temp in your staff photos? Now, mind you, y'all, everybody's cubicles were full of photos, like for every occasion that we eating and taking photos. I mean, there were photos plastered in everybody's cubicle, all the staff, their gatherings, their eating, their food consumption. No, thank you. I don't want to be in no one's photo or no one's cubicle. So here I am. I show up. I show up for day 2. By day 2, I kid you not, the ceiling is literally leaking. It's pouring water. Like it's Niagara Falls. They don't know if it's the tenant's apartment upstairs, if the toilet is overflowing, if it's the washing machine. They don't know where this water is coming from. Like it is cascading down. But either way, it reeked. And then here comes Amy. Gosh, bless her heart. Amy is laying down sheets of copy paper across the puddles like she's building Noah's Ark, one page at a time. I mean, you can't make this up. The office smelled like a gas station bathroom, and like we're fighting it with Xerox paper. So like by day 3, I come in and I'm sitting there and I'm like, something's off. Something's off. These fools have placed my name and a plaque on the wall, administrator, with my name on it. Like I'm the permanent replacement. No mention of the word temp anywhere. Oh hell no. Best believe every time I sign my name and email signature, I type the word temp in front of it. And then we have Jessie, the pot smoking office manager. One day she tries to take my photo. She says, "Oh, I need to take your photo so they create an ID badge for you and so you can get a security fob to come into the building." I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, for what? I'm a temp. I'm not signing my soul to the circus. So I'm like stampering. I'm like, yeah, and I'm making a face like something smells like. So I just finally said, no, 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 not today. Yeah, I'm having a bad hair day. Not today, not today. So Jesse was like, okay, another day. And I'm like, yeah, another day. Yeah, that day never happened. Okay, so by day 4, pay attention. The real nightmare begins. Amy is like, peace out. She left to go start her new job. And the program director dips for 2 weeks. Like she takes off the grease for a 2-week vacation, y'all. And suddenly I'm left alone with 20 needy case managers blowing me up for reports, coming to my desk all the time. I need this, I need that, I need that. And I'm trying to like barely figure out what the bathroom is because my head is spinning. And I'm getting overwhelmed. So I walk in thinking I'm here for administrative position, right? But instead, I'm handling accounts receivables, I'm handling accounts payable, and I'm like, the person that has been doing this job was here for 7 years, and somehow you expected me to hit the ground running with like 4 days of crash course training and then no guidance and anything else that she did or you guys expected me to do. Like I'm sitting here from day 1 now, when I first walked in, day 1, I'm hearing people shouting from across the office using profanity like it's casual conversation. And I'm talking about this is staff. They're saying the S word, they're saying the N word. Oh, yes. And I'm a woman of color, and I'm just like, what the hell? Then the clinical director, not a random staff member, the clinical director who oversees 20 caseworkers, She's blasting rap music in her office, like 50 Cent, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, like full volume and rapping along, fucking off key as hell. And she's dressed like a middle aged bottle girl, 6-inch stiletto heels, lace, ruffles, short skirts, loud clothing, just like the music that she was playing. I mean, she looked like she was auditioning for a part of a Lady Gaga video. Like on breaks, the staff would go outside, to lunch, and they would come back smelling like weed. Like I'm sitting there like, wait. Am I the only one that thinks this weird? Because I'm just trying to file some forms and I'm not trying to catch a contact high. Like the staff would come in the morning. I remember one lady came up to me once to try to help me with something, and she low key smelled of Mary Jane's, covered up with Bath and Body Works body lotion. But this right here, let me tell you what happened one day. This has to be the icing on the cake, right? So I'm standing at the copy machine, making copies, minding my own business, and what do I see? There's a piece of paper lying down on the tray, face down. I pick it up, like, hey, what's this? I don't know. Child, it's an invoice just chilling on the tray. An invoice from the staffing agency with my name plastered on it. I glanced at it and I nearly choked. $42 an hour. That's what this company, the temp agency, was charging this nonprofit for me. And they were paying it. Meanwhile, the temp agency was paying me $20 an hour. I was doing full time chaos control and a circus of weed smoke and screaming staff members, so called professionals, and they were pocketing nearly another $22 an hour just for passing my resume through to some company looking for a staff member. So, like the next day, I just casually threw out to Jessie because she was complaining about working there and how she's looking for something else. And I said, well, you know what? I'm not staying here. This is a temp position for me. And I said, well, if they offer me a position, I will decline it because I have been looking for jobs and I saw the very position online for this position I had. They were looking for like 2 to 3 more people to do this very position, other locations they had. And they were paying $22 an hour. So y'all could pay a staffing agency $42 an hour. But when you put the ad online, you're going to pay someone from the just general public, just out of the blue, $22 an hour? When you know damn well this job is more than a $22 an hour job. $42 an hour, you have no problem paying a staffing agency. But you want to give some sucker, some person who's desperate for a job, you think $22 an hour is a reasonable wage? Jobs are losing their mind out here. So I told Jesse, I'm thankful for the job right now, but no, y'all got too much going on here. I'm not staying here. And I said, I know you left the invoice on the machine. It was you because you're the one who does all the invoices. You print out the invoices and you pay them for the company and for the office. And she acknowledged it. Yeah, it was me. I left it on the machine. I didn't get a chance to get up to get it. Not only did I see my invoice lying on the machine for the whole world to see, apparently there were 2 other people in the office who were from temp agencies too, and I saw their name plastered all over the invoice and what they were making an hour as well. And then Jessie has the audacity to say to me, she starts complaining about her salary. Ma'am, you've been here for a whole year. I'm here on a temp check, just trying to get through the week. You think I want to bond over paychecks? I don't. No, thank you. I wasn't looking for a friendship, y'all. I was looking for fair pay, and I couldn't even get that. And when I say the place was unprofessional, I am not exaggerating. Listen, I was there a total of 7 weeks. To be honest, 7 weeks too many. And in 7 weeks that I was there, 3 people got fired. Not laid off, fired. Okay? And one of them let's call him DeAndre. DeAndre came back the next day. First of all, he refused to leave the office. That was like a whole thing. They were about to call the police on him because he was taking his sweet time to pack up his stuff to leave. Then when he finally did, it was like, hallelujah, he's gone. But homeboy DeAndre came back the next day. He walked in like he owned the place. No, like he still worked there. He stormed past the front desk and started yelling at someone else in the office, the assistant director, and he was yelling at the program director. Now, he wasn't going for his direct boss, the case manager, the clinical director, who I never named. Let's call her Betty. It was like, so he starts yelling, and I'm sitting there frozen, like holding a file. And this man is screaming across the room, telling them to do some obscene things with his man parts. And I was like, holy my God, are we on a set of Maury? I mean, I should have packed my bag right then and there because these folks are getting fired one day and crashing out the next day in the office. So after the old little scene with DeAndre, a few days later, days pass, and my loser supervisor, tip supervisor, let me call her something to protect her identity. I don't know why. I should say her damn loser name, but I'm not. Let's call her Jane. Well, Jane was still giving me assignments. Mind you, Jane, the Jane who dipped off of Greece for 2 weeks. She was acting like everything was cool. I was doing the work, keeping it professional, keeping it cute, doing what I needed to do. And then I left one day. I believe it was a holiday weekend. I think it was a holiday weekend. And I'm after hours, I'm in the store, my favorite dollar store, and I'm shopping. And I see I get a missed call from my recruiter from the agency. And I'm like, this is odd. Why is he calling me at like 6:30? This is really strange. So I'm like, I call back. And he's acting like all sheepish and shy on the phone. Like, he's like, yeah, so they said it's not working out and they don't want you to come back. Excuse me? What? So I blurted out, thank God I can go back to collecting unemployment. Because that was a relief. But so I said to him, I said, what happened? And he said, oh, something about um your attitude? My attitude. I didn't even have an attitude. I just showed up every day. I did my job. I sat there and I did my job. And here's the irony, the real attitude problem was coming from the office, blasting trap music and arguing over who smoked the last blunt. I mean, you had staff members, the men were sagging. It's 9 o'clock in the morning and your staff was sagging. Like the bosses were hanging out and they're walking around eating corn chips for breakfast, smelling like weed. But I have an attitude issue. I didn't say two words to those people other than hello, good morning, and what I needed to say in the middle. But apparently, but apparently, but no, apparently it's always a person with boundaries who gets labeled difficult, right? You have boundaries on a job and you're labeled difficult. Why? Because I didn't come and smell like marijuana, Mary Jane's the first thing at 9 o'clock in the morning. And still, I'm the one that had an attitude. Baby, at least I left quietly. I didn't come back the next day making threats and making suggestions for you to do things with my body parts. Listen, they didn't fire me because I was rude. They fired me because I didn't fit into their culture. That's what it was. I didn't fit into the little chaotic office culture they had going on, the little loose and free way of working and dressing and smelling like weed. And I pretty much said to the girl, just Jessie, um, I'm not staying here. I don't want this job. So y'all, she went off and told somebody and they get back to the program director. I don't care. And here's the funny part. Here's the real funny part. And get this. This wasn't my first time dealing with this shady nonprofit. About 7 years ago, I applied for a real position with them. Yeah, I showed up to an interview, dressed sharp, resume in hand, thinking maybe this would be a good step for me, right? Well, the first part of the interview went fine, but then part two happened. Another round of interviews. First man I met with, I think his name was Steve, half an hour, great. Asked me a whole bunch of questions. He actually had like a questionnaire, and every time I answered something, he would write it out, my answer. Then he passed me off to these two ladies who walked into the room and said, "Oh, hey, we see that you were for X, Y, and Z, and we know that they pay a competitive salary. So we don't want to waste your time because Steve has a habit of not telling people what the salary is when he meets with them." So they told me the salary. So they told me the salary standing up. They didn't even sit down. They stood there. They told me the salary, and it was less than I was making at my current job at the time. So I said, no, thank you. I don't want to continue with this interview. Which way is to the bathroom? So they were like, oh, yeah, it's that way. Thank you for coming. I'm like, thank you. And I walked out. So imagine my face years later when I realized the temp agency that had placed me at the exact same place where I had interviewed at before. I remember what they told me when they walked into the room. They said, "This is a salary. It is what it is. It is not negotiable because we're a nonprofit." Meanwhile, you have people making six figures at nonprofits who get a yearly bonus at the end of the year. And your minions, your peasants, your staff you have working, do all the face to face work, doesn't get a dime, doesn't get a Christmas bonus, nor a raise. So don't tell me you're a nonprofit and the salary is not negotiable. That's bullshit. So before this firing, listen, there were no prior complaints. I was professional. I showed up, I delivered, I asked questions. But the moment I mentioned the truth, like, I'm not going to work here for $22 an hour, I had attitude, or because I didn't want to participate in your little office shenanigans and come in smelling like marijuana or screaming the N word around the office. Listen, they didn't fire me because I was rude. They fired me because I didn't fit into the office culture. And maybe that was just too expensive for them. Listen, let me tell you something. Temp workers are not disposable. You can't disrespect people, underpay them, and expect silence. Listen, if a job smells funny, literally, it's okay to leave. Protect your peace and always read the papers they leave on the copier. If you've ever been underpaid, overworked, and surrounded by people who thought professionalism meant rolling a blunt at 12:01, well, this episode's for you. I'm Miss Fireball, fired but still lit. I'll see you the next time. Fired but still lit drops weekly stories, rants, temp agency nightmares, job scams, and unprofessional bosses, all from behind the mic with no face and no fear. Hit that subscribe button and follow along because just like me, this podcast is unemployed but still working. Peace out.